Our next story has been in the news for a few days now. You may have spotted it on our website. It's about Boeing and their Department of Justice in the US, or the DOJ as it's also known. They have both reached an agreement that will now allow Boeing to avoid prosecution over 2 crashes of its 737 MAX planes. The 2 accidents, involving a plane operated by Lion Air in 2018 and another flown by Ethiopian Airlines in 2019, killed 346 people in total. As part of this new deal, Boeing will avoid an upcoming fraud trial that could have resulted in the company being labeled as criminal. Here's what aviation consultant Shawn Mendes told me.
It's certainly a controversial agreement, but I guess in some ways it takes us back in 2021. Back then, Boeing had agreed to a 3-year deferred prosecution deal with the Department of Justice, provided that they met certain conditions. However, during the course of that 3 years, Boeing was found to have breached some of those terms, which was putting criminal prosecution back on the table. So the Biden administration's DOJ pursued this, and at one stage, Boeing even was willing to plead guilty to fraud. But in December last year, a federal judge rejected that plea bargain. So with the Trump administration coming into office, the DOJ has had to renegotiate a deal.
Whose interests does this serve?
Well, while this might sound a bit counterintuitive, I think the agreement actually serves almost everybody's interests, at least relative to the alternatives. You know, a prolonged court battle would serve as a massive distraction when Boeing's trying to urgently rebuild their production quality and safety culture. And it also drags things out for the victims' families who've already been suffering 6 to 7 years. The victims' families will receive additional compensation under this agreement, although, of course, no money can really compensate for the loss of lives. But regulators and the public will see an enhanced focus on compliance, and Boeing is going to make major investments into fixing the systemic problems that they've been having. So is it justice in the fullest sense? Probably not. But given the circumstances, it's likely the least bad outcome for all involved. Nobody's really a winner here.
Now, some say this agreement sends a message to other companies that they can potentially get away with negligence. What's the impact of people not being held to account in this case?
There's always a risk that settlements like this will treat negligence as just another cost of doing business. But I think in Boeing's case, the fallout's actually been quite catastrophic. They've lost billions and billions of dollars. They've completely lost a reputation they'd gained over almost a century. And the intense public scrutiny that they've been under has forced them to completely change their entire corporate structure. I doubt any executive in any industry thinks that they are getting away with anything. If anything, I'd say that the lesson is that weak safety and compliance processes can destroy even the mightiest firms.
Aviation consultant Shawn Mendes.